Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. Currency markets, the euro's had a little bit of a tiny little eensy-weensy bounce. We're now at 112.24, and that's all about bond yields reversing some of those extraordinary gains they've had. Dollar index around 97.50, Japanese yen 108.89, 109.15 is the next level, Swiss franc 0.9931 last time I looked. The pound 124.87, little bit of a bounce here, but this is a 2-year low it got to momentarily. Australian dollar 0.6925, India rupee 68.5315, South Korean won 1181.53, Brazilian real 380, Egyptian pound 16.6095. Inflation fell sharply, but they're removing subsidies off the fuel, so you're going to see a bump higher because of that. South African rand hovering around this 14.19 level. Dollar index, this chart is from Chart Lines. I've been bullish for quite a while. Even when everyone had turned very bearish, I remain bullish. Euro dollar, we're hanging in there, 112.23, but I think we're going to go to fresh 2019 lows. Sterling, as I said, slipped as low as 124.41, which was the lowest since April 2017. Currency is under pressure. UK could be set for its worst quarter since 2012, and they're now pricing in a possible rate cut by the Bank of England next year. But these are levels we saw at the time of the flash crash, in point of fact. It's interesting. Negative yields in emerging Europe, now it is officially absurd. Tundra underscore CIO. This is what I mean by the Wizard of Oz world. And I remain of the view that at some point in the next few weeks, Mr. Powell, and he's still chairman of the Federal Reserve, notwithstanding the Erdogan move to remove his central bank chief, is set to shatter the Quaalude-level delusion, raise his room for insurance rate cuts. And even if he does a rate cut now, he's going to have to put it up by twice the amount he's cutting. The Swiss National Bank put out a study which finds evidence that 1,000-franc banknotes are being hoarded. That's nearly worth $1,000 a banknote. The majority of Switzerland's high-denomination bills are effectively parked in vaults or stuffed under mattresses, according to a Swiss National Bank working paper. In a study that has implications for officials at central banks who must figure out how much below zero they can cut interest rates before the public begins stockpiling cash. The authors calculate that between 80 and 90% of the 1,000-franc note were hoarded in 2017. And this is also another article I wrote, Bond Yields in Tilt Mode, and that's why you're getting this hoarding effect. Commodity markets, gold, 1395.83 is pretty resilient, it's turning out. But I agree with Kobesi letter that we got a double top at 1440. Crude oil, big jump over the last few hours. We're now at $59. So that's a very big jump, actually. Production of hand-dug cobalt in the DR Congo is poised to drop sharply after prices tumbled. Congo last year produced about 72% of the world's cobalt, a key ingredient in the rechargeable batteries that power electric vehicles and smartphones. Most of the country's production is from large mechanized mines run by companies including Glencore, but diggers that use rudimentary tools tend to respond more quickly to price changes. How interesting is that? Saying 20% of Congo's production of the metal last year was artisanal. At the moment, the diggers prefer to work the copper. The old cobalt pits no longer interest them. However, even COMEX copper is under pressure, falling below its 200-week moving average as per T commodity, and you can see from this chart. China's CPI, fresh fruit, up 42.7% year on year, the biggest increase on record. Turkey is heading for economic collapse, Ashmore says. President Erdogan risks pushing Turkey's economy into an economic collapse, similar to those seen in Latin America under populist regimes, according to Ashmore. While more diversified than Venezuela's oil-dependent economy, Turkey is currently on a very similar path of policy missteps that are likely to lead to ruin. Capital controls, nationalization, and other policies designed to prevent the private sector from protecting its property as the macroeconomic environment deteriorates are the next logical policy steps that will follow in Turkey. Jan Dane, the London-based head of research at Ashmore, said in emailed comments. His comments came after Erdogan rattled markets by dismissing central bank governor Murat Setinkaya early Saturday. The longer he delays, and this applies to all these populist policymakers actually, this is an excellent analysis. The longer he delays, the bigger the cost, which is why politicians who go down the heterodox route rarely change tack, and they almost certainly end in a crisis. Here is his characterization of the decline. Bad economic policies begin to extract a political cost. Instead of fixing the causes of the underlying economic problem, the government decides to attack the symptoms of the problem, such as inflation, slower growth, weaker currency, and slowing investment. The real problems, meanwhile, are ignored and get worse. They include bad monetary policies, increasing interventionism, failure to develop local financing markets, overly low savings rates, and bad foreign policies. The government also blames other groups instead of itself because this works politically, but it only makes investors and businesses even more worried, as Erdogan will need more and more scapegoats as the economy worsens. As the economic outlook worsens, investors and businesses begin to take action to defend their wealth and livelihoods. This results in capital flight, declining investment, and other hedging strategies. The government starts to blame the private sector for bad performance, taking action to prevent their defensive actions, enter capital controls, nationalization, forced conversion of contracts. Eventually, the government has no financing, no growth, no future, and plunges into a crisis. And this is what I was writing about in August 2018 in an article I called Cold Turkey. And I said, President Erdogan is a Shakespearean figure. He has slayed enemies, real and not real. His chest has been puffed up with pride. He even rescued the Emir of Qatar. But now he has met his match, that match being the market. And Mrs. Thatcher said it in 1998, there is no way in which you can buck the market. Finally, the European Union is considering tough measures against Turkey because of its insistence on natural gas exploration near the coast of Cyprus, European diplomatic sources say, and I think he's taken delivery of those S-400s as well, which is hardly going to make NATO happy.